You're listening to 515, the Ultraman podcast, the show that invites you into the lives of people who make up the Ultra family. Here's your host for these conversations, co-race director of Ultraman Canada, Larry Ryan.
Thank you, Mary Jo. In today's episode, I speak with Van Sanchez, Mexico's 515 race director. Steve King introduces another six-time world's champion. And I have a conversation with Marla Zucht, four-time Ironman Kona racer and upcoming 2021 Ultraman Canada participant. Do you know that this podcast has a Facebook page? Well, of course it does. Check us out for video clips of the interviews and updates of when the new episode will drop, which, by the way, is every 3 weeks. Also, when you share a 515 Facebook post, it gets seen by your friends, which of course are my target audience. So please hit that share button and spread the word. Today I have a special 2-for-1 in the first slot of the podcast where I speak with the Ohana members. First is a man who has podiumed a handful of times in his age group in both 70.3 and full distance events and has attended the 70.3 World Championship. Those events all happened after he was crowned the youngest person to complete the 515 distance when he did it in 2014 at UK. From his home in Fresnillo, Zacatecas in Mexico, hello and welcome, Van Sanchez.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. It's a pleasure for me and for Mike. Try to talk about the Ultraman races and a lot of this stuff, no? It's an amazing experience for me, and I wish will be this experience, the Ultraman experience will be an amazing experience for all the people in the world.
And Van has also brought a guest along with him who has completed 7 515 events. He works as a tri-coach and owns his own triathlon shop called Urban Jungle in Mexico City, where he is located. I welcome you as well, Miguel Garcia. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Larry. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm here to share some experience and answer everything you need to know about this ultra experience and ultra life I'm living.
Excellent. Okay, Van, can we get started with you first? Exactly how old were you when you did the UK?
Exactly 19 years old, Larry, and my birthday is on November 26th of November. Well, 19 years.
Yeah, and you remain the youngest person at this time to have completed Ultraman. So if I've done my math correctly, right now you're 25, 26?
26.
26, okay. And the reason I point that out is because we often say that competing at an Ultraman distance event is a life-changing event. And for some, that just means reaching for the extreme of human capabilities and seeing what they are personally able to do. But for you, even at your young age now, it truly changed your life, because at the age of 19, it set the course of where you have gone ever since. Can you tell me a little bit about the UK? What did you find there that changed your life and set you on your path?
Yeah, Larry, the real thing is the Ultraman UK was a very hard part of my life, I think so. And it's the reason because I try to reply this experience with the people. I think so was very, very inside my heart all the week, because my friends, my family, and all the people around me pushed me to finish the race.
Yeah, so the experience of doing it with your crew and having your family there got you to the finish line of UK. And then what else is happening at this race that fills your heart and sets you on this path of where you are today, where you're now a race director as well?
Well, my crew was 2 persons from UK. I'm very, very happy with these guys. And Ramiro Gutierrez, who was part of my crew a lot of times. And a lot of feelings. It's one of the reasons because we try to take these feelings, the Ultraman things, Aloha, Hana, and Kukua, and take this and show this kind of lifestyle in Mexico. Mike is one of Mike is my friend and he's like my brother, but he is one of my special persons from inside the race who exactly try to speak and complete these three words, no, Hana, Aloha, and Kukua, Larry.
Mm-hmm. And so once you experienced that, you wanted to take that back to Mexico. You wanted the other people of Mexico and maybe the Central America area to be able to experience it, and you just decided to start your own race as well to bring that to the people.
Yes, Larry, we try to bring to Mexico these feelings and these words, no? Not exactly the words, but the feelings, the experience for the people here in Mexico and in South America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, Mike, you're one of the people that have attended many of the MX515 races. You've done 5 of them, I believe, and you've become very close with Van over this time. You guys are great friends. He calls you like his brother, and you've been helping out with the race as well by creating some content and producing audiovisual material for the race and Facebook and things like that. So you're considered part of the Ohana of his race. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship and how it started? How is it that you guys have become such great friends and brothers?
Okay, well, I started in the ultra world on the Ultraman family in Florida. I attended the second event that was held in Florida, and unfortunately, I didn't finish it. I didn't even finish day one, so it became like a heartbreaking story, a struggle that I had to deal with. So during that time, before that, I was friends with Iñaki, or I had some relationship with him. Mm-hmm. So I kind of became part of or got held into the Ultraman world, and I liked it. And when I didn't finish it, I came back 1 year later. I even tried to attend the World Championship with my heart broken and all that kind of black hole you go through when you don't finish one of these races. And during that time, when I was attending to come back on the second year, I already heard about Van and the youngest Ultraman athlete in the world. But during that year, we became like to connect on social networks and Facebook and that time, and we became aware. I became more aware of him, and that's why we started like talking, but nothing more than just two athletes talking on social networks. When I came back to Ultraman Florida for the second time, I got really engaged into this world. I knew, I thought that this was gonna be like just my check. I have already done an Ultraman. I was gonna live forever. And when I came back and like my heart got happy with finishing that race, I knew that Van was creating a race in Mexico. So we started talking. Well, what can I do to be part of the Ultra MX Ohana? I'm part of a company that creates videographic material. So I proposed that I could be part of that video, and I wanted to be racing too. And now here we are with almost 6 years later, and with a friendship and brotherhood that has gone beyond business and has gone beyond, beyond the Ohana that most athletes know.
Yeah, that's an excellent story in that I think a lot of people they pick up on the Ohana the same way. You don't need to know the person. You don't have to have met the person previously to be able to hit them up on a social media and ask them a question about a race, or to volunteer to help out with a race or anything like that. So the story that you're telling about how this is just grown out of a normal social media connection and a love for the race together, it's just tells a lot about the ohana of the people that do the Ultra 515 races. I think the other thing in your story that struck with me was you were saying how you were just willing to do whatever it was to help. You didn't care what it was, and you looked at your skill set and said, I can help out with video or something like that. And as a race director, also appreciate that what Vam was probably seeing was, yeah, I will take any help you can give me. Like we will take all help at any time.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, anybody out there, if you ever want to help your local race, call the race director, and definitely they will take your help always. One of the things that I hope people get out of my podcast, and the reason they would come back regularly, is so that they're getting some practical advice about how to successfully finish a 515 race. So Miguel, as an athlete and as a coach, you probably have two perspectives on this. So I'm going to give you a two-part question. As an athlete who's finished a number of these races, what is one thing that you've learned, and maybe that was in the race that you didn't actually finish, that you share with others that want to do this? And then the second part of the question is, as a coach, because everyone is individual, what is the hardest part of building a plan for an athlete?
I think I can sum up both parts, like the as an athlete and as a coach, like to be patient and take it easy, because I know that everybody in this world, especially a triathlete, when they put up on a plan or as a target to do a race of this size, everybody wants to do it like perfect, and everybody wants to go big, and I don't know, I think the expectation that any athlete has is so big that it's really easy to lose your head, and it's really easy to lose sight of what you are going to do. So I think patience is the number one I will suggest, and I've gone through the dark hole I told you at the beginning. So you really have to go and keep in mind that you just have to finish it. You have to enjoy it. I think a lot of people, most of them, forget that this is about enjoying it. And maybe in the future, and maybe after 5 or 6 races, like I'm beginning to feel right now, they can say, okay, maybe I'm ready for racing. I think if you keep that in mind, and if you are honest with you, it's gonna be a much better way you're gonna go through. And well, there's people like Van that are such great athletes that at 19 they can finish this kind of races. He's already racing world championships on another distance. And there are athletes like me. Like, honestly, I'm not a great athlete, but I like it. So I try to race like the type of athlete I am, the one that enjoys races, that go, and the only goal I have is finish it, share with my family, share with my friends, share with my share it with Van and all the people in the staff, and as for now, that's my only objective, and I have really enjoyed it. And for the athletes that I have already trained, that none of them had gotten last year none of them got in the race because of the pandemic. But the suggestion is the same: go easy, enjoy it, and just finish it.
Yeah.
The fun part of the race, it goes from the middle to the back. The athletes that are on the front pack,
Yeah.
they're really not enjoying that much, and they're like in some different kind of thinking. So
Yeah.
the ones that are from the middle to the back are the ones having the more fun.
Yeah. And so are the crews back there.
Exactly.
We've been talking a little bit about the fact that you actually have your own race now. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time just talking about how you started your 5:15 race, and it's turned into a race series, in fact. So, Van, can you just tell me about the events that you are now organizing and where they're located, what they are, the distances and things like that, and what's on the horizon given COVID?
Yes, for sure, Larry. The first one is the 515. It's in October. The last year was very complicated for the COVID, but all the athletes finished the race and we go very, very good for the race. I think so. And the second one is in April for the Ultraman non-stop. And the third race in the schedule will be the 355 in Cozumel.
With your race coming up in April, are you still planning on running that at this time? Do you have permission to run that race?
Here in Zacatecas, and we have all the permits. Really, for 10 athletes, is easy. Maybe Mike will be talk about the race, about the Ultraman non-stop, for example, because he listened these words, but he need finish the race this April, Larry.
Okay, so Mike, maybe you've done is it the same course for the nonstop as the regular 5:15? No, different.
It's totally different. It's in there in Zacatecas, but it's in I don't know, like a more enclosed location. There are a lot of loops. On three sports, the swim is gonna be on a pool because of COVID. As far as I know, there's nothing sure about open water swimming. So to make it sure, it's gonna be in a pool. The loop for the bike, it's I think 30 kilometers.
Yes.
I think, and there's gonna be 84 loops for the run. So it's gonna be like. like a hamster running, so it's gonna be really, really hard. I'm eager to do it. I'm really excited, and I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I'm sure it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Can you describe for me the regular 5:15 course for the race, just so that the listener gets an idea of what they would be in for if they want to come down and do this race? Just give us a little idea of what it's like, some of the scenery and how hard it is, things like that?
Yes, well, the swim, the first 4 years was in a local park, a really big park that is there in Fresnillo, and it's in a private lake, and it's not really cold, but it's a cold course. It's I think 11 loops, also in an enclosed location, and I can say it's a really I don't know, like not easy, but you can really plan well your swimming in there. The transition is perfect, and once you get out of the park, you go directly onto the highway to the part of the bike. This last year, also due to COVID, it was in an open water location in a lake near Fresnillo, and I can tell you the location was beautiful. The place, everything was beautiful. Just that it was really harder. The water was colder. There was a lot of wind. It was the worst swim of my life. I think everybody who raced there suffered and did a lot more time that they attempted it. But the location was stunning. I think it's really beautiful. The bike, day one, you had to go like from Fresnillo to Zacatecas. It's like about 60 kilometers for 30 to 40 miles. And then you get to a mountain called La Bufa. And I think this is Zacatecas is high. That's the highest place in Zacatecas, or at least in that zone. And it's a brutal climbing there. It's really hard, but at the same part, you enjoy it because you have views. You have, I don't know, all about Ultra MX is that you're suffering and enjoying the views and enjoying like the people. It's like I don't know, you have an angel and a demon the whole time. So once you get to climb La Bufa, you go down really, really fast, And I think the day one is if you don't have any eventuality, nothing happens. If your bike doesn't get broken or something, I think day one is really doable for everybody. Day two, it's I think it's really hard. First 80 miles are like flat, like a little downhill. But once you get back again, 60 miles of soft climbing that starts to break your legs, starts to break your soul, starts to break your mind. And once you are shattered, you get to La Bufa again. It's a lot of mind, and you don't want to waste time because if you stop for 5 minutes, you really don't know if you're gonna need that 5 minutes at the end. And
Right.
I think Van and I have seen a few athletes over these 5 years that haven't finished that they do just for a minute or some seconds. You want to be really strategic about that part. And day three, it's on a path that only we use. And well, it's one marathon to go, one to go back. And it's also kind of hard because the first marathon, it's a little downhill that you don't really feel, that you don't really know that you are going downhill. But when you got back, well, I can tell you that your legs start screaming. The heat, it's a semi desert, so it's not really hot, but just hot enough to make you like crispy when you are about 7-8 hours in that path. And just if it wasn't enough, when you get to Fresnillo, when you are entering the city again, I can tell you the last 2 miles, you get to climb 2 bridges, 500 meters, but really steppy that well makes you hurt and talk to your God and talk to every every person beyond this life you can talk to get there. But I can tell you this race is really hard welcoming the people in there, the racers. That's something that the race does very well, that all the athletes, most of them come back again, and if not, they are also in contact after a very few years.
Yeah. You know, that's actually one of the questions that I had coming up is I know that as race directors, Van, like the Ohana, the Aloha, and the Kakua are the reasons that we're doing these races. That's like, we feel it, we love it, and so we want to put these on all the time. Can you maybe share with me a time, this is open for both of you, but can you share with me a specific time where you felt one of those ideals of the Aloha coming through in the race? Is there a pinpoint one that sticks out in your mind that it's like, oh yeah, I love it because of when this happened?
Okay. Now about the Hana, Larry, it's easy because when the people come from all around the world, you know, you feel, you really, really feel this feeling because I'm very happy if the people who do a travel of I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 hours or 12 hours from Australia or whatever, come to Fresnillo, come to my house, come with my family, and try to reply this race and finish the race. Larry, is when the world change, and this change, uh, you know, change completely. The world changed, and then it's a feeling. And it's when I felt, and I feel the Ohana really. When the people come to my home, Mike, Mike, when the people come to my home and stay with my family is when I really, okay, this is very different. This is not an Ironman. This is an Ultraman, because this is Ohana, Larry.
How about you, Mike? Is there a specific time when you can think of where one of these things has really stood out for you?
Completing what Van said, you don't go to a race really easily, that you can go to the race director's house and feel welcome, and that his mother makes you breakfast, and you can be really eating with somebody who just arrived from Canada and somebody who just arrived from Brazil, and you start talking about anything but the race, anything but Ultraman, anything but triathlon. You start talking about families. You start talking about uh, your fears or personal past experience about family, children or families get together. So I can tell you that it's something you don't find in any other kind of race, and I felt that many times, and I can tell you that also there are a lot of athletes that now I can call friends, and also when we get to Zacatecas or when we gather in some other place, families are really tight now, and that's something that only this kind of Ohana and this kind of as I said before, the heart welcoming feeling you get when you get to the Ultra MX makes you love. I can say that I don't know. Well, last year there was athlete number 100 crossed the line of 5 years, and I can tell you that from that 100 athletes, there are only, if I can say, five that don't like belong on the hand, that doesn't get in touch, or that they don't really hang out with all the rest of the athletes. It's too much. The other 90 are really a big, warm family, and that's something that band has created really well, and well, all the people in the town, because that's what Fernillo is about. Is it's family, and the people in there is amazing. Yes.
Sorry, Larry. And Mike, the town here in Fresnillo, Larry, the people are very helping always to help. You can imagine helping with the water, or help with the drinking or the food and whatever.
Just one another story, for example, this last year, this October, so day three, we are arriving to Fresnillo on the last 2 miles that I told you that had these bridges that are terrible. And there was a moment I said, okay, I'm not gonna finish on time. I think there was like 15 minutes to get to the finish line, and I made my math, and I said, okay, I'm not gonna finish on time. I'm gonna take it easy. Somebody from the town appeared out of nowhere. I don't there at this point I don't know really who she is. Well, I know from band that she's the mother of one cyclist from there, but she appeared in there and she knew me, and she started to tell me, "You have to finish. You are important here in Fresnillo. You have to." And she started like pulling me and pushing me and motivating me and throwing me water. And well, she was like I don't know how to say, but she was like an angel that started like really really pushing me towards the finish line. And I can tell you, I finished this race with 50 seconds on the clock, and well, it's there, no? And I can tell you, I wasn't gonna. I'm sure I wouldn't finish this race on time if it wasn't because of her. And the best of all is that when I finish the line, I say thanks to her. It was like all the celebration when you get, and she like disappeared. Where is she? Where have she gone? I wanted like to talk to, thank to her and make something bigger out of it. And she was like somebody who appeared to help me finish and then vanished. No? So I think that kind of experiences change you and give you a whole different perspective of life and how these races are. Know what? I think it's not easy to have that kind of people coming out of nowhere and make you finish your goal and make you feel so happy and welcome in some place.
Yeah, I think for for the Ultraman person listening to the podcast, they're going to be like, yeah, I get it. I've lived that story. I know what you're talking about. But for the Ironman person who's listening to the podcast and maybe is thinking about doing ultra and they're looking for those tips and advice and want to hear about different races, this is what it's all about. This is why the ultra family exists. It's why people come back year after year. So the stories that you guys have just told are like perfect examples of what happens probably at every ultra event there is. And like you said, the people that don't get it is very few, because if they came in with a different attitude of, I'm here to win the race, as I said earlier, by the time they get to the end of that 3 days, they've come around to the ultra family side and they understand the bigger picture for most people. And there will always be those few that come in to win and leave and don't get to know anybody. But like you said, you now know like 95 great people from this race over 5 years. And that is what makes these races so good. From what you've described, it sounds like kind of a smaller town for your 5:15 race. And then Cozumel is the location for the 3:55. So obviously, if somebody wanted to plan a nice resort vacation along with a race, Cozumel might be their choice. But what is the community like? A little bit more about the community where you do the 5:15. Is that going to be a nice vacation spot too, to hang around for an extra week or two, or is the amenities there for that, or what's the location like?
Yes, Larry. The reason, because we start the race here and we don't plan move the race to another place, is because the people from Fresnillo, not me, not Mike, not you, not the athlete, not who listen this podcast. The people from Fresnillo loves the race. The athletes and the local athletes and triathletes, they try to change the mind, change the chip inside the mind and conquer the limits. The people from this town always have the same thing: work in the mind, have a family, and is all. But Larry, here in Mexico, the situation is different. In Canada is an amazing place. Mexico is the same, but we have not exactly all the opportunities. We have more problems, if you want say this. But when you try to get and pick up the race in a small town, and the people say, yes, okay, let's go. We can push the race. We can make the race. We can love this race. And it's the reason because Fresnillo is very important. And now is not the capital of the sport in Mexico. Cozumel is now the new Kona, for example, for the triathletes. And Fresnillo is a very small town. It's different. It's very different. But the first thing is the love of the people for the race, Larry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent that you can have that association with the people in the city. I like that idea. So Van, what are your big ideas? What's your vision of where you see the world of ultra tri going, and what part do you want to play in that?
We are the new age, for example, the new era for the Ultraman. I think so. And I wish for the next years, try to talk with all the race directors for the races and make a big map with all the races, Larry, and say, tell everyone, hi guys from Canada, hi guys from Israel or wherever. We need make this because we need make and finish the idea for the Ultraman. A big family, not always in separate ways, Larry? And I think so. And for all the new generations, will be an amazing opportunity to build this Ultraman real Ohana, Larry?
Yeah. It's definitely divided out there as to what's going on, and there's some politics behind the scene and things like that. But if we speak of Ohana at some point, hopefully everybody can come together and really make that a true vision.
If you want, you can come to my race. I'm happy to receive you because you are my friend, mate, you know, Larry? And it's easy, really easy. I don't want to talk about the politics and this stuff because, you know, it's hard, but I need to say that, Larry. Yeah. We need to change this chip, the mind, the kind of feelings, because it's not all about the money, Larry. It's about the kind of race, the lifestyle. Because this is not a race exactly, you know. We talked a few minutes ago about this, sorry, and this is about the love. It's about the conquer my limits and finish and change my person and change my mind. And I think so, Larry. This is not about the politics and the money. I think so, but this is for all the people who listen this in Spotify only. If you want to come to Mexico, you have my house and the house of Mike and all the athletes here in Mexico is open for you. My house is open for you, Larry. You are welcome in Mexico. You are welcome in my race. And it's not exactly my race, sorry. It's a race of all the athletes and the Ultraman athletes from Mexico, Larry.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful thought. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys for Zooming with me today and being part of the podcast. I think you both come with the exact ideals of what the 515 experience is all about. And I'm really happy with the information that you shared today. And I'm sure the people listening will have learned a lot by having this as part of their workout routine. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
I was so happy to get to meet those guys through Zoom. They really get it. It's great that they have formed such a great bond through the Ultra experience. Just like I did with Brad Sawa, who I met volunteering as his crew for Ultraman Canada in 2012. And now look at us. We're the co-race directors of the very same race. And just as an update to our Ultra family, we are still planning to go ahead with the race this year in July. And depending on what the COVID rules are as we lead up to the race, things may look a little different, but we remain hopeful that our international athletes will be able to attend. And as I said early on in that conversation, race directors are always looking for help. Brad and I are looking for help. We're looking for volunteers to help with the race logistics and to work as crew for the athletes. So if you're interested in helping out with the race this year or any year in the future, please contact us at officialultramancanada@gmail.com. And remember to put the word official in front of Ultraman Canada to ensure that you reach us and not another race. On to today's crew story. It's coming from Arno Sulikov, who also believes heavily in the Ultraman ideals, as you will hear.
Good morning from beautiful France, snowy France actually. You may hear some background noise because I'm on the turbo at the moment and we try to multitask, and getting old doesn't make it easier. Anyway, your podcast is great, and I wanted to give you my 2 cents about some adventure that happened with my crew on my first ever Ultraman, which was Ultraman Australia at the time. And I had a friend who used to live with me in Singapore, because at this time I was living in Singapore, and he was supposed to crew for me and found some mate, but when I arrived in Nusa, not only he was not really available, but he was also moving house. So my first task on arrival was to help him load some carton box, and obviously it was not going to work. And I found myself stranded, as much as you can be in Australia. But I found myself in Noosa without a crew and without solution. And one of the athletes I was coaching in Singapore, very good friend of mine, and he put me in contact with Heather and Ross Pike living in Noosa. And sometimes in life things are just clicking, and we went for a coffee, and Pikey and Heather, they had a heart bigger than me, and not only they offered to crew for me, but they fed me, they offered me a room in their house, and they drove me around despite the fact that they never crew for an Ultraman or for a race. It was such a great experience, and I would say, even if we met just once during the Ultraman, today I still consider Ross and Pikey and Heather as some of my very, very close friends, and I would do everything I can for them if one day they will be in the need. And sometimes we stay in touch. With this pandemic going on, we can't really visit, but yeah, they are people very close for my heart, and I will be forever thankful. And during this race, we had also another great experience, and that was for me really what switched my focus a bit from the normal long distance racing towards ultra distance, Ultraman especially, because on day 2 I was leading the race, because after day 1 I was in the lead, and on day 2 we had a very, very, very strong battle, a big ding-dong battle, as they say in Australia, and we were really back and forth, and the Australian course is not an easy one, and at some point you have a lot of navigation, because there is a small loop that you have to do a couple of times, if I remember well, and I found myself alone, because I lost my crew, and so no crew, no food, no drink. It was the afternoon, it was really, really windy and pretty hot, and I really thought at some point I will have to stop and try to beg for water and stuff, because in the Noosa backcountry there is not much. It's a bit like in Canada. Once you are out of town, not much is left there, and I was really surprised to see actually the crew from the guy chasing me. They came to me and they asked me if I needed anything, and it was amazing, and today I'm still very emotional when I'm thinking about it, because they could have taken advantage of me and say, oh, the guy is drying, doesn't matter, we will just keep passing by him, but instead of that they decided to give me food, give me drink, and keep me on track. And yeah, I won the race, but I won the race because I had the best crew out there, but also because I had the best competitor out there, and this is something which is I often say, I've been 8 times to do the Ironman in Hawaii, and you don't make much friend during race week. You see some of your friends, but you don't make friend there. And I've raced twice the Ultraman in Hawaii, and I've made more friends during these 2 races than during all my Ironman. So that's the spirit. I really love that, and that's why I will certainly keep on going on this race and visiting place, because more than the competition is always important, but more than that, what's really important is the relation you can build with people, and how enriched you live this race. Doesn't matter the result, but it's always a great experience, and the crew experience, I really keep it very close from my heart. Thank you guys, see you, bye bye.
Today's UMC athlete in profile is a 16-time Ironman finisher, with 4 of those being at the World Championship. She is a Canadian living in one of the most beautiful places in the world, the smaller of the co-host cities of the Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games in 2010. Zooming in from Whistler, BC, is Marla Zucht. Welcome.
Thank you, Larry.
I love Whistler myself. I'm living in Vancouver. I get up there as much as I can. I'll be there tomorrow skiing, actually.
Oh, fantastic. You're going to have a great day. It was a good stormy day today. The Alpine didn't open, so you're going to have great snow to ski tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was looking forward to. We kind of watch the weather for those. We know the days that when it snows hard, you're not going to get on there, but they don't open it. So we try to go the next day.
That's right. We laugh. We always used to head up for powder days, and now we avoid the powder days when they freshly come.
So were you living in Whistler during the Olympic Games?
Yes, indeed. It was a highlight of the times. I've lived up in Whistler for 25 years, and it was so exciting leading up to when it was announced that Whistler was going to be co-hosting it with Vancouver, and then having it here. And I volunteered on the downhill ski course. So it was just, I embraced it all. I mean, every evening, the awards ceremony, all the live music, it was fantastic to have the world all here visiting, and the excitement and the energy was just incredible. Would love to have it again.
That's the same sort of feeling that was like just all over Canada at that time. Yeah. Like we were lucky enough to be in the host cities, but I think that was spread across the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
So, like everybody who's been to Whistler knows that it's a beautiful place, great for the outdoors, minded people. And for those that are coming to Canada for the race, if you have a few extra days before or after the race, it's worth the drive down from Penticton to go to Whistler and spend a few days there. You won't regret that. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about some of like the great training places you have to go run and bike, and what different terrain there is to offer in Whistler.
Yeah, that's so true, Larry. As I say, I've lived here for 25 years, and the love of the place is not worn off even a little bit. We are blessed with beautiful freshwater lakes and alpine mountains that are backdropped. And I mean, every day I feel so fortunate and grateful for where I live and work and play. And it's beautiful. The trails, the mountain bike trails, the trail running up in the high alpine. The lakes are just gorgeous to swim in. As soon as I can get in the lake, starting probably by May, I'm actually just doing an online order for my thermal gloves and booties again, and thermal swim cap to be able to get in Alta Lake. And the temperature will probably be about 15 degrees when I start swimming, and then I'll swim every single day right through until probably September. And I typically go in the morning before work, and I can't think of a better way to start my day. And I can access the lake right from my house. I just put on my wetsuit and into the lake in 5 minutes, and it's beautiful.
And I understand that you recently, or maybe not recently, but before, you had tried a 12-kilometer swim down in Alta Lake. And
right.
Now, that's not a very big lake. So I'm wondering, were you going side to side, around in loops, zigzag?
Around in loops. So yeah, 4 times around the lake. So where I start from is my home dock, just near Blueberry Trail. So I went in from there and just went 4 times around. And yeah, I'd been planning to support a friend of mine that was going to do the Skaha Lake swim this past summer, but then was canceled because of COVID, and he still decided to do it. So I did go up and paddle beside him to help him achieve his goal. And I was just really inspired, and I knew I've been wanting to do the Ultraman race for a while, but for me, the big scary piece of it has always been the swim. I'm not a great swimmer. I mean, I can get through, but it's definitely the weakest link of the 3. So having the opportunity to help him and share that experience, it really solidified the desire for me to want to take on that big, audacious goal. So I decided to get in the lake and just try to crack that nut and do the long swim. So did 12K, or round and around and around I went.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so having, I think, just mentally knowing that I could do that distance opened up my desire even more to want to take on the big goal of Ultraman for myself.
Yeah. And were you practicing with your nutrition as well for that big swim, or?
Not so much the nutrition piece, which has been a journey in itself for me through my Ironman career, 16 of them in. I've had lots of times to trials and tribulations and to tweak it. So, but where it really comes to rear its head, if you've got it right or wrong, tends to be on the marathon for me. So the long distance swim, I was just purely using gels. Every lap around, I would take a couple. So that didn't seem to be an issue at all for me. Fortunately, I was more worried about how my body was going to hold up my shoulders. But yeah, no, body felt good for it. So
yeah. So I'm guessing you've given some thought then to how you're going to plan your nutrition over 3 days, because that is probably the thing that wrecks the most races at Ultraman, because if people haven't done an Ultraman before, they know how to get their nutrition for an Ironman, but when you're doing it 3 days in a row, that third day is still relying on your nutrition on day one. That once you get into your deficit, it just digs you deeper. So what sort of plan do you have in place on your nutrition?
Well, planning, which is extremely important. So I will be very regimented with my plan on when I'm taking what and have it all broken down. So, I will need to kind of experiment and tweak it as I get out into those longer volumes with the training volumes, just to see how much I need when. But I think it will come down to the third day with the marathon, the double marathon for sure, because the biking and the swim bike day, I think just what I've already done, what works for me, I'm fairly confident that will continue to work for me. I had the opportunity to crew for a girlfriend in 2019 at the Ultra 520, and I was with her on the run. And just trying to keep her kind of consistent and help her again with the nutrition. It was the key component: when to drink, when to eat, how much to take on when. So I will have that all broken down in my race plan for my nutrition as I lead up to it. And have to maybe gauge and adjust a little bit depending on what type of heat we get on the end of July.
Of your 16 Ironman races you've done, do you have a favorite? Is there a place that you went to that is like maybe not even like you had your best race there, but you have like a fond memory of the place itself or the people you met there?
Well, it's hard not to say Kona and the World Championships. And until you've had the opportunity to experience it, you can't even really imagine it until you're there. And for me, it wasn't even, as I was early on in my days of starting the Ironman journey, it wasn't on my radar. I mean, in part because I never really thought I'd get there, perhaps. And it just wasn't something that I was that familiar with until I actually had the opportunity to qualify and go. And it's like, wow, like the camaraderie of racing with people from all over the world and the excitement and it's just such a well-oiled machine. I mean, they've got that race dialed so well, and a beautiful setting, of course. Not that I don't tend to race as well in the heat. I prefer cooler temperatures. But yeah, just it really is the top race, the pinnacle of racing for me. And then second to that would probably be the Boston Marathon, which in a way was similar, kind of just the grandioseness. As soon as you got off the plane in Boston, it was just like, welcome to the Boston Marathon. And it's really exciting. And, you just know when a place is really behind the event, you can feel it. And again, that energy and that excitement it means so much as an athlete. You get so much back from that. So those would be my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, and racing in Whistler for Ironman Canada. We had it for 7 years, and hometown, favorite. My favorite place to be, and my terrain, and talk about making it easy to be able to visualize, because these are all the areas that I, get to run and ride and swim in. But I always actually love getting to travel and go away for races too. And I have I'm super fortunate and grateful to have a very supportive family, a partner and parents that love to travel and come with me to the races. And so it ends up being quite a family affair when I do choose to travel to a different race, whether it's, somewhere else in Canada or somewhere else in North America and the States. So
I think with your world championships, then, are you still of the mind of, if I qualify, I'm going? Or are you like, okay, it's great, I've done it, I could save that money and travel to a different race?
No, I think I'm still at the mindset I would go again. The first time I went was in 2015. And at that time, I thought it would just be a one-shot time, one and only, but it's pretty addicting to get to go. It's such a fantastic opportunity. So, I feel so grateful for having the chance to have gone 4 times. But if there's a 5th opportunity, I would definitely embrace it. Yeah, and go.
Yeah. And the 2015 race, that was kind of a famous race in Whistler.
Yeah.
And you're getting to go to Kona.
Right.
Is kind of a bit of a story as well.
You did your homework. Yes. Yeah. I actually wasn't going to bring it up, but yes, that definitely was quite the surprise, the shock. I can honestly say I was completely oblivious to what was going on race day. I mean, I didn't know the competitor at all. And even when I was up on the stage for the podium getting our awards, at that point I was still oblivious to what had happened on race day. But I remember being up on the stage, and the first place and second place female turned to, the ones that thought they had come in first and second, turned to the woman that had been given the first place award. And they were like, where did you pass me in the course? And I was like, wow, I wonder what's going on. I had no idea. Yeah. And I really didn't know what had happened. And it was probably a week later, we had traveled up, my partner and I had traveled up to the Okanagan. We were actually visiting some friends in Naramata. And then I started getting all of these, my text messagings going off. I'm getting all these bizarre emails about, we think you actually should have qualified to go to the Worlds. Somebody has cheated in your age category, which means if they get disqualified, you will get to go to the Worlds. And I was just dumbfounded. Initially, I didn't even want to believe it, and I didn't want to get caught up in it, and because I just had no idea. I was completely shocked by it all.
So at this point, I'm just going to break in to bring some context to this story that Marla clearly is hesitant to speak about as the person who benefits from the cheating scandal investigation. I'm sure many of you already know the story that she is speaking about, as it was widely discussed through the Ironman world on Slow Twitch, but just in case, I thought I would fill in some of the gaps. There is a New York Times article that gives a forensic account of how Julie Miller, the athlete in question, was eventually disqualified after being given the benefit of the doubt prior to the awards ceremony that Marla was just speaking about. The problem was that Julie had, air quotes, lost her timing chip in the T2 transition, but not the timing band. Here's a quote from the article, which I will attach to the show notes for listeners' reference. Dissatisfied with the response of race officials, they methodically gathered evidence from the minutiae of her record. Official race photographs, timing data, photographs from spectators along the routes, the accounts of other competitors and volunteers who saw or did not see Miller at various points. Much of it suggested that Miller simply could not have completed some segments of the race in the times she claimed, and it all raised grave questions about the integrity of her results at Whistler and other races. Now, much of that information discussed in the article comes from Okanagan resident and web designer for the Ultraman Canada website, James Young, who was one of the leaders of putting the case together, as his partner Claire Young was also caught up in the podium shuffle and eventually awarded second place. Slow Twitch became the hub for the sighting stories and the digital photos, which of course are digitally timestamped. So despite Miller's claims of innocence, the evidence presented to Ironman officials caused her to be stripped of several past titles and barred indefinitely from competing in future Ironman events. To this day, I should say, Julie has not admitted any wrongdoing. As a result, Marla became the fortunate beneficiary of the dedication of the athletes who took it upon themselves to do the investigation. Now back to Marla's account of how she was affected by all of this.
So about a week went by, and I kind of just assumed it would maybe peter out. Well, it certainly didn't. I mean, it just continued to ramp up, and the amount bigger and bigger. And then, of course, once, it came to light what had happened, and, all the people that, I was just absolutely amazed at all the people that were rallying behind the situation and wanting to, make it right. Yeah. And then because this was now at the beginning of the race, Ironman Canada was at the end of July. I think I started getting notified at the beginning of August, and it probably took the entire month of August. I don't think I actually was notified until beginning of September that then this racer had been disqualified from Ironman Canada and found to have cheated in the race. And then I was given the opportunity to go to the Worlds. So now we are about 4 weeks, maybe less than 4 weeks out. So trying to scramble to think about ramping up my training, because I had thought my race season was over after Ironman Canada. So having to think about, ramping up again and trying to, get to a place of, peaking or just getting back into race ready performance, and getting accommodations in Kona with that little time, everything sells out. And all the logistics, the travel. And it was quite the whirlwind for sure. And initially, I was just didn't believe it, that it was going to happen. Yeah. And then it did. So, and then once I'm actually there in Kona, I'm absolutely dumbfounded at how many people knew about it. And I actually had people coming up to me at the swim, because my partner would come down and with the swim, and when he'd be in conversation with people, and when it came out that who I was, people wanted to take photos, and it was absolutely absurd and bonkers. And I remember, because it was the first time me going, so I took everything in. I did the parade of athletes, the nations. And when, again, people found out, me racing with Canada, and the athletes breakfast that Canada would put on, when people found out who I was, unbeknownst to me, that this is even, caught wind outside of Sea to Sky Corridor, people were just all over it. And I couldn't believe it. I just was oblivious to it. But yeah, and then obviously, it's a sad situation. I'm super fortunate to have had the opportunity to go because of that. And then the next year with Ironman Canada, I don't think because I wouldn't have even realized what kind of the little ceremony that goes into when you actually have the opportunity to get your name called out to go to Kona, and you want it, the whole lay, that whole little ceremony. When I realized that I didn't get to have that the first year, so then I got it my second year for qualifying. It just was all that more, exciting and enriching, and so. Yes, that was quite the beginning to the World Championships.
Yeah, you probably have the most interesting how I got to the World Championship story.
Yes. I had people in New York, friends in New York, calling me because they had read about the story in the New York Times. And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, apparently the New York Times, that was one of their most commented stories of the year. That's how everybody knew you.
Exactly.
So what I'd like to do now is I always do a little 2 minutes in transition. So we've talked about your sporting life a little bit, but we want to get to know you as what you do outside of the sport as well, so that we get the full profile of our athletes that are coming to the race. So just to get over to that side, I do a thing called 2 minutes in transition. I'll give you a couple lightning round questions, and you can do quick answers, and we'll see how many of those we can get through in 2 minutes. And we'll talk about more your personal life.
Okay.
Sound good?
Got it.
What is a bucket list event or something that is on your current radar?
Ultraman Canada, of course.
Do you know what is your biggest mileage week? Like total all in, what's your biggest week?
You know, once I'm kind of up at my volume for Ironman, though, training, Ironman distance, I haven't done the Ultraman training distance yet. So I would say 18 to 20 hours a week. I mean, I start to look at it, it's like a part-time job. So,
oh yeah.
And I guess that's only going to get longer.
And do you train with music?
No, never.
Do you just enjoy the sounds of where you're living?
I really do. I'd rather feel immersed in my environment. And yeah, there's just something for me that makes it more tactile in that regard. It's one of the things I've never gravitated towards. I went to listening to music. I did do an Ultraman, an Ultra Marathon, and I listened to an audiobook once for that one, 8 hours plus, but no, generally no music.
Okay. What is something that you like to do that does not involve swim, bike, and run?
Right. Cooking. I really enjoy cooking and baking with I have a 13-year-old niece that I enjoy, baking with.
As an athlete, a lot of athletes do have their, special nutritional requirements or restrictive diets in some way. Do you have anything in your diet that is special? Or
I am a vegetarian. I mean, I do eat seafood occasionally, but I am a vegetarian and I have been for 30 years. But I have a sweet tooth. I love chocolate. I love desserts. So I eat well. I'm conscious of what I eat, but I enjoy eating also. So I don't limit myself because it's part of as much as I train and am active, I think the enjoyment of eating, that's part of
of course, yeah.
Yes.
Where do you go to find some new good, healthy recipes then?
I love reading cookbooks. So I just got the new Oshi Glows cookbook for dinner. So I love reading, healthy, nutrition, easy recipes and trying new recipes all the time.
I know that you work with the Whistler Housing Authority as well. That's kind of what I guess pays for your toys. Can you tell me a little bit about that job and what does it do? Because as people that have been there will know, Whistler is kind of a small town, and it's confined in its ability to grow based on being in the little valley and the infrastructure that's available to the city. So housing affordability is an issue all over British Columbia. Obviously, being a resort and an attractive place to be, it's also something that happens in Whistler. So what is it that you do at the Housing Authority?
I'm the general manager of the Housing Authority. So I run the organization, and the Whistler Housing Authority oversees Whistler's affordable housing program, of which we have both affordable homeownership and affordable rental housing that's restricted exclusively for the workforce in Whistler. Because as you say, Larry, I mean, Whistler is a desirable place and it's also an expensive place to live. And without the inventory of housing that's restricted for locals, I mean, many locals wouldn't be able to afford to live in the community, but the housing that we provide is probably about 50% of the market costs, be it market rents or be it market ownership. So it really enables our workforce to be able to, well, for Whistler to be able to attract and retain and sustain a local workforce. And we essentially take out kind of the speculation out of the real estate market for locals to be able to afford to live and work in the resort community. So
it's great that Whistler had the foresight to plan that. Because I know there were stories of people that were coming and like renting closets to live in while they were here and things, and yeah, so it's great work that you do to make sure that everybody has a reasonable place to live.
Yeah, it is great, and it's rewarding work.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to come and do the Zoom meeting and help us to get to know you, and I look forward to meeting you in actual person and not through a camera.
Yes, likewise. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of my interests and passions and my goals.
Thank you.
And now here's another Steve King story.
So let me introduce you to a lady who has won the World Ultraman title on 6 different occasions. The first time was in 2003 at the age of 29. She won again in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009. 2009 was in fact her fastest ever winning time at 25:48:46. Her closest win was also that year, when Kathy Winkler also bested the previous record, but she found herself 16 minutes and 8 seconds down on this lady. In 2009, this lady also came to Ultraman Canada and came 4th behind Amber Montfort, Barbie Brochu, and Andi Ramer. 2010, we have to remember as well, she was 3rd to Amber Montfort, who recorded what is still the world best in terms of an Ultraman World Championships. She did a 24:07, and she is a 3-time champion. In second place in 2010 was Hilary Biscay, who ended up winning the event in 2013 and placed 3rd overall, did a 24:30:50 there. And in fact, it was this lady who was 3rd that year who did a 24:43:57, which actually was a personal best by 62 minutes. So there are 3 women who have now placed 3rd overall at the World Championships at the Ultraman. Artis Bow, Amber Montfort, and Hilary Biscay. In fact, 2 women have won the Ultraman distance races overall. Kate Bevilacqua, the Australian, did that in Canada, and Amy Van Tassel of the US did that in Israel. Let's not forget the world best that happened in Florida when she finished 2nd overall. That was Dee Dee Griesbauer, who not only slammed through the 24-hour barrier, but went inside 23 hours, a stunning performance. But the lady I'm referring to, a 6-time world champion, has also raced at the Gigathlon in Switzerland. She was a winner of the solo race across America in 2006. She's finished some great ultras as well as cycling. She's done the Furnace Creek 508, but she's also finished the Badwater 216K or 135 miler, which she did in 2008. In fact, in 2009, her final win at the World Ultraman Championships, she won overall, but she also won the heart of a gentleman who won the men's 20 to 29 category, Marcus Joswick, and they ended up getting married. Just like Alexandra Ribeiro on the men's side, the Brazilian, this lady represents the USA and represents triathletic excellence, a 6-time women's World Ultraman champion, that I'm referring to, of course, is Shanna Armstrong.
Hey, if you liked what you heard today, please tell a friend and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate it if you'd rate and review the show while you're there. Drop the names of the people you think we should interview and we'll get in touch with them and make that happen. Thank you for listening to 515, the Ultraman Podcast, a production of 55 Enterprises brought to you by Ultraman Canada. Now really, go subscribe now before you forget.